I had been studying at this school for the past 3 years. Before that, I was studying in modern school, not Delhi. On the advice of an acquaintance, my father removed me from modern school and put me in Guru Arjun Dev Public School. It was a school of Sikhs, the best in studies and discipline. It was not only difficult but impossible to get a new student to get admission in Class 6, but the principal of the school, who had rejected me on sight, did not know how my father's acquaintance came out and I got admission. I was very happy in my old school, but coming to this prison-like school was suffocating me. When it was a school for Sikhs, Sikh students also became friends. His names were Navdeep Singh and Satwinder Singh. All three of us were the same age and about the same height. For the last 3 years, we were backbenchers. Being a backbencher was not our choice, but we were among the tall boys in the class, so the teacher used to make us sit on the back benches. The three were not special in studies, but by preparing at the last minute, they made their place in the top 10 in the class of 50 students. The one who got more marks than the three of us became the object of envy of the other two. The three of us were confined to ourselves because of the intermingling of our thoughts. Neither friendship with Kahu nor enmity with Kahu. We didn't bother anyone, no one bothered us. But if someone screwed up, they would not leave him behind the abyss. Our sporadic fights with other students distanced us from other students, and we were counted among the combat students in the eyes of the teachers. And because of this, we were not allowed to participate in extracurricular activities. Given our circumstances, we avoided engaging in any fight. These battles had a lot of side effects. The first side effect was the beating, which used to happen in 4 stages, especially for me. After the quarrel, all the students involved in the quarrel were taken to the principal. There the punishment was according to the principal's mood. If the principal was in the right mood, everyone was cocked in front of his office. If the mood was a little bad, there were 10 strong canes on the palms. If the mood was absolutely bad, then the whole body was repaired in a satisfactory manner. One thing common among the 3 types of punishment was to summon parents to school. Navdeep and Satwinder's father, a doctor and engineer, respectively, would meet the principal and scold his sons and leave. My circumstances were a little different. It was a bit difficult for my father to find time to come to school. He was very busy in his cattle feed store. He used to get calls from school and he used to get very angry to hear complaints. Coming to hear the complaint meant loss of business, and on top of that, the school principal's taunt, "Sharma ji, your lad has crossed every limit. He is a menace to other school children. Here he means him and I will rustiate him. Mr. Sharma, your boy has crossed all limits. It's a danger to the other kids in school. Either fix it or I'll have to take it out of school." Hearing so much was an insult to my father, the consequences of which I had to bear the brunt of it. In the principal's office, 3 or 4 of his loud slaps would show me the stars during the day. I would come to class humiliated. My 2 friends and the whole class would greet me with a crooked smile, and I would sit down with any book I was burning. The third phase of the beating used to start in the evening when my evening class was held at home. For this beating, the stick or other means of beating were also used, including the father's foot padukas. The fourth phase of the beating would start after 2 to 4 days on the day when the father sat down to teach me. If the answer to any math question was wrong, there would be a tremendous beating in which all the means of beating mentioned above were used. Harjeet Singh was a strong Sikh boy of short stature and was the favorite of all teachers and principals due to being the best in studies. Navdeep, Satwinder, and I had been dealing with him as class monitors for the last 4 years. Successes made him unstoppable. He used to keep a ruler in his hand and use it on any student when he got a chance. No one said anything to him for fear of the principal and other teachers. The notoriety of the 3 of us kept him away from the 3 of us. He never tried to mess with us, and we didn't care much about him. Every year we used to pray that he would go to some other section, but unfortunately he used to come in our section. "Do you have any remedy for this?" asked the 3 of us. "Brother, We stopped fighting a long time ago. We can't do anything about it. Navdeep had given him a blunt answer. The day he kills all three of you, you'll see how much you've stopped fighting. The day will come when all three of you will be beaten. After saying that, the boy went away. We'll see then, Satwinder had said with great indifference. Well, he never messed with us and time passed. The big canal and its tributary minor canal. Winter and summer Sundays were not very different, but on winter Sundays, cricket was played all day, which was usually played with the boys of their colony. On Sundays when father was home, the pending work of school would be done all day. Every Sunday and other holidays from April to September, all the boys of the colony used to go swimming in the canal. The canal was one of 3 small canals passing through our city that were drained for irrigation from the big canal coming out of the city and flowing according to different rosters. That is to say, they used to get water for a week or 2 a month, and we used to swim in them a lot. The width of these small canals was an average of 25 to 30 feet, and the depth was an average of 6 to 10 feet, which was a perfect measurement for us to swim. No fear of drowning, no worry of getting hurt, such were those summer Sundays. Till date, I do not understand how we all used to come swimming by cheating our parents. It was one of the canals originating from the Yamuna River that irrigated the agricultural land of the entire western Uttar Pradesh. It was on an average 100 to 130 feet wide and 10 to 20 feet deep. The big canal was more than 5 kilometers away from our colony, but if there was no water in the small canal, we used to swim in the big canal. We used to swim in a 20 feet deep canal? No, brother, no, you had to jump into it and give your life. It was the luxury of the nobles of the city and their young boys. They would all jump into it with colorful rubber inflatable tubes and swim to the other shore. Some of them even swam without tubes. But the older boys of our colony had prohibited anyone from swimming in it, because every year at least 3 or 4 boys drowned in that canal. Those who drowned were all seasoned swimmers, but the canal would sacrifice them. The big boys of our colony had explained to us that there is a water vampire in the canal who kills the swimmers by dragging them down into the water when needed. We had full faith in this legend, so we never jumped into the big canal. There was a watermill on the banks of this big canal in which women from nearby villages used to grind wheat flour. To run that watermill, a small canal was taken out of the big canal, which got water all summer, and we used to swim in the same canal. We used to swim for a while and then entertain ourselves by watching the exploits of those rich adventurous boys. This routine would take us to the canal, big or small, every Sunday, and we would enjoy that Sunday to the fullest. May 1993. All 3 of us had passed Class 9 and reached Class 10. And the pre-summer studies had begun. The period was empty and we were passing the time by doing useless nonsense. Why don't you ever go swimming? I asked Navdeep and Satwinder. In those dirty drains? Asked Navdeep, scrunching his nose. They are not dirty drains, they have water from the Yamuna River, Satwinder said, cutting him off. They bathe in men as well as animals. Isn't that a dirty drain? Said Navdeep, sticking to his point. Do you know how to swim and talk nonsense? Swimming? I've seen you swimming in those little canals. If you swim in the big canal, I will consider you a swimmer. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. Whether I am a good or a bad swimmer can only be decided after I have competed in swimming. Let's fight. While our nonsense was going on, a loud ruler hit me on my left shoulder. I turned around and saw a furious Harjeet Singh standing behind me with his ruler in his hand. Don't talk in the class. Don't talk in class, he said, raising the ruler towards me again. Before the next ruler could hit me, I got up and grabbed Harjeet's hand, and then the two got into a fight. The other students of the class gathered and started watching the spectacle. That's when my 2 friends also jumped into the fight, not to help me but to end the fight. Leave it. Otherwise, you will be beaten. They'll call your father back to school. You will be beaten again." Saying this, both of them separated me from Harjeet. As soon as they separated, Harjeet ran out. After a while, two peons grabbed the three of us and took us to the principal's office, who was in a bad mood. The principal asked only one question: "You guys fought in class again?" And before we could get our answer, his cane started smashing the three of us. After being beaten, Navdeep and Satwinder cursed me in unison. "Abe had already stopped you." But he himself got beaten up, and he also beat us up. "Who told you to get in?" "I would have dealt with it alone. There is no time for goodness. One saved you. On the contrary, he is cursing us." I said, stroking my injury. After that, the three of us came to the class and cursed Harjeet. But the cycle of beatings had begun. My father beat me up in the traditional way at school and at home. This time, the cup of patience of Navdeep and Satwinder's fathers was spilled, so in the principal's office, they too were beaten by their fathers. And they cursed me once more and ended the friendship. The next day, he and I sat together on separate benches. Then the summer vacation came. Every day of the holiday was Sunday, but still we looked forward to Sunday because on that day we could get water in the nearby canal and we could swim in it. That Sunday also all the boys of the colony went to the canal, but there was no water in the canal. After thinking for a while, everyone decided to walk on the big canal. Walking in the scorching heat, they came to the big canal. On the way, someone plucked mangoes from the mango tree. Before they ate alone, everyone snatched the mangoes from him and broke them into pieces and divided them and ate them. When we reached the canal, we saw that there was not much crowd there. There were a few boys swimming in the small canal, and there were even fewer with colored tubes in the big canal. Well, what about us? We enjoyed swimming for about 2 hours, and then, at the insistence of the older boys, the water got out. When I got dressed and came to the colored tube area of the big canal, I saw that there was a preparation for a swimming competition. 2 boys were betting among themselves to cross the river without a tube. One of them was Harjeet Singh, the other was an acquaintance of his. We all stopped to watch the fight. They were arguing with each other in Punjabi, which we did not need to hear or understand. But I was averting my eyes from Harjeet because I didn't want any screwing up on the canal. After a while, they both reached a decision and reached the shore of the big canal. On seeing this, both of them jumped into the water. The second boy came to the surface of the water after being in the water for a while and started undertaking swimming. Harjeet had not yet reached the surface of the water, but no one was worried because some boys were good at swimming underwater and would come out of the water and swim on the surface of the water. But Harjeet did not come to the surface. His companion had sensed something untoward. He came out of the canal screaming and started shouting in such a way that he could not understand anything. Hearing his screams, some older swimmers jumped into the canal and dived, and after a while came to the surface of the water. But Harjeet did not know anything. He was drowned in the water. He was drowned by a water vampire. One of us said, "There's nothing left here, let's get out of here." The other older boy said, and we all came back with a heavy heart. The next day, the news of a boy drowning in a canal spread like wildfire. His body was found trapped in a trap somewhere far away, which was specially set up for this purpose. All of us boys in the colony kept quiet, and all the programs for swimming that season were canceled. On the first day of the opening of the school in July, a student of the school had drowned. Navdeep, Satwinder, and I got together again. Old differences were forgotten. Both of them gave mixed reactions to Harjeet's death. "He's dead." One of them spoke. "Don't speak ill of the dead." The other explained, "I don't remember if I ever went swimming in those canals again after this accident." The next year, the 3 of us went to different schools and joined the rat race of life and were separated forever. It was a different world when the walls of caste, creed, and religion were not so high. Everyone was connected to each other, and when the time came, they also used to work for each other. My family has moved out of the old city and settled in a new elite, where no one cares for each other. Last year, on the occasion of Durga Navratri, I went home with my wife and daughter to immerse the idols made of clay of Ma Durga in the big canal because new colonies are being developed on the banks of the small canal, and the builders have covered those canals with cement blocks by turning them into drains. The city's population has reached the big canal. Muddy water was flowing in the canal. There were a lot of boys in the shallow water of the canal who were picking out the things they meant from the items of worship. I climbed my trousers up to my knees and entered the water and immersed the idol of Ma Durga and other items of worship in the water. My daughter was also in the water and was very excited. After coming into the water, his face probably had the same glow that I used to have on my face when I entered the canal water on a childhood Sunday. The wife was asking us to come out of the water with concern, and we came out of the water after hearing her cries.